Greetings, everybody. Thanks so much for sticking around with us. We're about to get into our last session of the day with some students here with us. So can I please have Sky and Tivetni introduce yourselves?
I was muted. Hi, my name is Sky Alex Jackson. I'm from Chicago, and in high school, I founded an organization named the National Black Student Alliance at National BSA on Instagram. And I'm extremely grateful to be here and talk to all of you about some of the issues that higher ed is facing.
Thank you.
Hello, y'all. My name is Tivetni Carlson. I'm originally from Cantwell, Alaska, up north. I'm currently a PhD student at studying environmental engineering at the University of California, Berkeley, and I appreciate getting the time.
And thank you so much for joining us today and taking the time. I've spoken with both of you for different stories related to your own student experiences, and that's a common topic that we've been talking about all day today. Let's open up with a general question of what do you two see as the value of your college education today?
The value for me really lies in just meeting people, connecting with other students, and forming relationships with professors to allow me to have applicable skills for my work life later in the future. I think it's super easy for us as college students to kind of get into school and get here and just feel lost. My experience has been that I've had to reach out to a lot of different advising programs to ensure that I'm getting the right advice and the right skills and taking the right classes and understanding what will really lead me into the most successful place that I can be after college.
What's been the most valuable thing that I've gotten from my college experience?
Yeah.
It's a mix of things. The thing I always have to say first and foremost is like community, especially from my undergraduate. I did my undergraduate in University of Alaska, Anchorage, and there I was part of a couple Alaska Native and American Indian STEM programs there. One of them, the Alaska Native Science and Engineering program, I'd highlight specifically, where I made some very close friends that I deeply cherish to this day. Who helped me get through my time taking engineering classes, which are rather difficult, very strenuous and time consuming, and contributed to developing the skill sets that I have to navigate my current PhD work, and just keeping me like mentally alive through all that hard work, in addition to from more general college space of getting connected with people around the world and around my state who are doing interesting work, that are looking to hire engineers and other folks that are like wanting to investigate and keep on top of what's the word I'm looking for? Kind of lost my train of thought there, apologies. But
I think on that note, finding community within your college community is extremely important. So for students to take advantage of some of the programs that our colleges and higher education institutions really promote, and sometimes we have to do the work to find it ourselves and make those connections to be able to find communities within the larger community. And one thing about college also is that the value that it holds is that you have no idea what the future is going to hold. We just recently had a pandemic that very little people were expecting. And college offers opportunities later in the labor market where you don't always know what's going to happen. And it's a great place to have stepping stones and meet people and foster connections that will really last for the rest of your life.
And something that I feel like college administrators and presidents and leaders are trying to understand nowadays that touches on what you guys have brought up now is this feeling of belonging and establishing community. What would you two define as that feeling of belonging? What makes you kind of go on a college campus and feel like, okay, I can stick it out here for a few years?
For me, it's always been in choosing specific classes and specific departments. So for me as a Black woman, I am interested in the Africana Studies department. It is something where I'm going to make sure that I'm taking a class in the Africana Studies department every semester so that I can be surrounded by my peers of all different races who are interested in the topics of Africana Studies, which are extremely important. Another way that I take advantage of some of these resources is I live in Black housing. So specifically, I attend Brown University. Brown University offers programs for students to live off campus, and the house that I live in is called Harambe House. And so being able to go home to my peers, the people that I can connect with and that I feel I can really understand the experiences that I go through in the classroom when I am taking classes like my engineering classes where it's 300 people that are different than the 20-person Africana Studies classes. And so taking advantage of both to have that space for critical race theory and also the space for immediate applicable skills so that I can go into entrepreneurship in the future.
Yeah, I would just parrot that straight up of having the ability to have a wide range of subjects to get to choose from and learn from, particularly those that are addressing critical race theory and other like societal scale things beyond STEM. Again, this is coming from my engineering background here, and that's one thing I do appreciate about Berkeley is there are classes available here that deal with one of my favorite ones so far has been engineering, environment, and society, that explicitly highlights the connections between those two. And for both my undergraduate and my graduate student experience is the importance of having a physical space to actually get to meet with people, and especially when you're like a brand new undergrad and you don't know the space too well, and you're like, if you're like me, where you're coming from a rural space where the city itself is just a brand new experience, having a spot that is welcoming, and particularly if you had I did a summer program beforehand where there was this space on campus that was used as a kind of the go-to for when you don't know where else to go outside of your dorm room, and that helped build a lot of community for me, was having that physical space where I could get coffee, where I could make a meal, and where I could meet up with my friends. That's where I met many of my close friends.
And
And
Tiffany, you talk about, oh, I'm sorry, Sky, go ahead.
I was just going to say on that note, pre-college programs are extremely important, whether it's getting representatives from higher institutions into high schools, into underrepresented areas to explain what is the value in college. And the numbers are there. The National Bureau of Labor says that 67% of people who have a college degree earn more than those without a college degree. And so seeing the numbers and understanding what they are, I also think that students from underrepresented areas need the support to make sure that they are successful and know how to take advantage of the opportunities that these higher institutions offer, because it's not clear sometimes.
And Tiffany, you talked about, you're Alaskan Native, you come from a community where a lot of your peers didn't decide to go to college. What made you decide to pursue a higher education?
So growing up, I was always pushed as kind of the smart one. I really like math, I really like science. I love just digging into all the subjects and staying on top of the classes. And everyone around me, my community, incredibly values education. They all no one makes fun of you for that. There's no classic nerd thing that you see on TV. And just because other people didn't want to go to college, it was because it wasn't their fit. They wanted to just get into working life. They didn't want to move. But it's not that they didn't look down upon it, it just wasn't for them. And that's one thing that I carry with me, is that college is not the end all be all. Not everyone needs to go to college. And we should respect those that don't. College is for a specific range of jobs. There are a lot of other jobs that are incredibly valuable as well. We need janitors in the world. We need repairmen. We need electricians, and those don't require college degrees.
And something that some administrators are wondering in terms of reaching and connecting with students who are currently on campus is kind of beyond teaching and curriculum. What are best practices in your experience to kind of gain meaningful connections with the faculty on your college campuses? what has kind of contributed to those meaningful connections with people who you consider now mentors, and things like that?
I think a big thing to take advantage of is something called office hours. Most faculty and staff have office hours listed on their website. You can sign up for whether that's in person, whether it's virtual, send emails to the professors who are well known on campus, who have written many books about lots of different topics, are there and generally really want to come talk to students. And that's something that I've, as a second year student, have recently started to take advantage of. Another concept is facilitating. So I think starting on the first day of class, having teachers and educators and professors express how important it is to foster a safe space and have a community where people can really express what matters to them and talk about their lives within education and their goals and their dreams. And so starting that out at the beginning of the semester.
Yeah, I would love to second the office hours, especially having that space for one-on-one conversations and just getting to engage with students as they are as individuals and their full selves. To me, part of the challenge in that is beyond just hosting office hours. You can't just sit in the office and just expect students to come to you, because that's, in my experience, is a major barrier for a lot of particularly undergraduate students, is getting that confidence, because professors are scary. They got this big title, they've been doing this stuff for a while, they're really smart, and you don't want to embarrass yourself in front of them. Oh God. And this is where I think to call back to the pre-college programs, there is that there's kind of this need to train undergraduate students and high school students in particular who do have college aspirations, that office hours are really important. Don't be afraid of your professors. They're smart, they're nice. And especially for my own pre-college programs, the college professors themselves came down and actually ran little workshops with the high schoolers, and they got that one-on-one time with them. And while that doesn't solve all the problems, it does give a nice kind of warm up to being oh, they're human.
And Sky, I know that you're involved with the Black Student Alliance, and one of the biggest things that administrators and presidents have been grappling this year is working with student activists. What are some ways that you experience on your college campus that your administration or faculty are working to kind of support your mission in the Black Student Alliance?
Yes, so the entrepreneurial department at my school has been incredibly helpful, particularly in providing grants under systemic racism and encouraging me to fight some of the issues that I, as a founder of the National Black Student Alliance, have been working towards with my team of students from Brown and also away from Brown. And having that support and meeting other teachers and reaching out to them who have done great work in my field has been mind-blowingly helpful. Meeting these people, talking to them, explaining to them what I'm doing, what I'm trying to do, and getting advice on making big decisions within my organization, such as some of the things as we partner with schools. And so managing, how can I help a public school versus a private school? How can I help a student versus a teacher? And so getting these questions answered from the faculty around me, simply by just doing a Google search of what they've been getting involved in, what are they doing, and sending off emails to the people that I feel aligned with.
And Deveni, I know when we talked previously, you've mentioned sometimes feeling like a little bit out of place, maybe being the only or one of few Native students in your classes. What are some ways that you've been able to establish community?
I'd harken back to the importance of having that physical space, and on Berkeley campus, I'm part of the now Indigenous Graduate Student Association. And just having that space where we can all connect to the fact we're from very different, we all parallel, we all have a PO box, we're all coming from places that have PO box numbers, or we have family who are from places that have PO box numbers, and carry kind of just those associations, those things that come with people with our background. And within engineering itself, sometimes that's just kind of the challenge of being a minority in the space, is having to contend with being the only person there. And I haven't been asked to be the representative for Native people too often in there, which I appreciate, not being like the called upon every single time, like in class, but it's just there.
And I think, to Benny, what you're referring to is that you never know what safe space you're going to need until you're in a situation like a higher institution where you really need to emphasize the fact that underrepresented students need these places to congregate, to talk about, to relax, to exercise leadership. And so the National Black Student Alliance really strives to provide these online and in-person brave spaces for students to feel comfortable and connect to not only their peers, but their parents, other people's parents, Black mentors. One of my favorite metaphors that I've used is windows and mirrors. So all students, especially as we're growing up in higher institutions, we need to see windows and mirrors. So, but those of underrepresented people, we often don't have many mirrors. We don't have a lot of representation. So we need to find those spaces to engage in representation, since most of what we experience is looking out at other people's stories through windows.
And that kind of leads into one of the questions that we just got in through our Q&A. A professor says, I am one of the few Latinos who teach at a predominantly white faculty institution, but our student body is more than 50% people of color. Does the person at the front of the room matter? What do you guys think?
Absolutely. I was fortunate to somehow, some way secure 4 POC teachers, my first professors, my first semester of college, and being to relate to and connect with person of color professors and educators that were mentors for me and that I looked up to made a huge, huge difference and success in the trajectory of the rest of my year, because it made me that much more comfortable to show up to office hours, that much more comfortable to put in the time, because I looked up to people that I know most of my peers only had white teachers for a semester. And so it makes a big impact on me to really seek out some of these professors.
Same thing, particularly for mentorship. And when my undergraduate institute, we have two engineering faculty who are Alaska Native background, and one of them, Michelle Yachmaneff, is a close mentor of mine because she grew up very similar to me, if not more remotely, because she grew up in one of the Aleutian Islands doing subsistence practice. And it's just wonderful to get to have someone as going into a PhD space that I can call up or just email and be like, hey, yo, so like, how do you like introduce or deal with like going back home and like explaining your job to your grandparents? Which I have wonderful like white professors who I'm still in contact with and taught me excellent things, but that's just not a question I can ask them.
Well, thank you so much to both of you. That wraps up our session today. I'm going to turn it over to my colleague, Ian Wilhelm, who's going to cclose us out today.
And if anybody has any questions that they'd like to ask me about my organization, please email me at skyeajackson2003@gmail.com and visit our website at www.nationalbsa.org. I'd love to hear from you and learn about your work as an educator and as an institution, and kind of talk about some ways that we can support.